So you guys recently have learned how to solve inequalities, where pretty much solving it like an equation using your same strategies we always do. The one thing to remember again is that if you divide both sides or multiply both sides by a negative, you flip the sign. In this video, we're going to tackle our compound inequalities, and we're going to see how those are solved. So compound inequalities, again, being the or and inequalities that we learned about earlier. So, first type of problem we're going to focus on is or inequalities. And the strategy for or inequalities, you can see right here, it's either this inequality or this one. Just solve the two problems separately. Or problems are great. It's just like doing a normal thing, except instead of doing it just once and being done with it, you do two problems before you're actually finished. So, on my first one here, I'm just going to take it one piece at a time. I guess I'll solve this guy. Ignore that one over there for now. Subtract the 1. Negative 3x greater than or equal to 12. Divide both sides by negative 3. I end up with x flipping my sign is less than or equal to negative 4. Or, my second part right here, I go to solve this guy, distribute, get 8 less than 2x plus 8, subtract 8 from both sides. I get 0 is less than 2x, and I divide both sides by 2. 0 divided by 2 is just 0. So I get 0 less than x. So these are my two pieces right here. Now all I need to do is put it on a number line. So my first piece is not so bad to do. It's just x is less than or equal to negative 4. So here's negative 4, less than or equal to is going to get shaded to the left. So it'll look like this. Or, and this one is written backwards. It's 0 is less than x. I'm going to flip that guy around. That's going to be x. Alligator still wants to eat x. So that's the same thing as this. And that makes it a little easier to see. There's 0. I want an open circle. And it's greater than. So I'm going to shade this way. So I got my solution. I got my graph. That problem is good to go. Next up, same sort of deal. I just have another problem here that I'm going to tackle. And going through doing the algebra like normal. You distribute your negative 5 on this guy. I get negative 5 times x is minus 5x. That's going to be a plus 15, less than or equal to 3. And just solve it like normal. I'm going to combine like terms. 17 minus 5x, less than or equal to 3. Subtract my 17 from both sides. Negative 5x, less than or equal to 3 minus 17 is going to be a negative 14. And finally, I divide by negative 5. I'll flip my sign, and on this guy, I should get x greater than or equal to 14 over 5, which isn't a bad decimal. That's 2.8, I believe, so I'll leave it like that. Or, on this one here, I want to get my x's together. Now, I think, like I've said before, I like keeping my x's positive, so I'll subtract 2x from both sides. There's nothing left over here anymore, so I'm going to put 0. Greater than 3x minus 2x is just 1x, and that's actually done. So I get x is less than 0 if I flip it, like I turn it around so the variable's over here. So I have x greater than or equal to 2.8 or x less than 0, and on a number line, let's see, say there is 2 and there's 3, 2.8 is going to be like right there, shaded to the right, so that'd be 2.8. And this one is less than 0, negative, there's 1, there's 0, open circle, shaded left. Now I'm going to do two examples of and inequalities, and we'll see how those work out when you are trying to solve them. So, I'm not sure exactly how you've been taught these in the past. There's a couple different strategies you can use. Personally, on these problems here, when you're doing an and inequality, those are the sandwiches, I would advise you guys just to solve all at once. Now, if you look at this problem here, we have two signs. We have an inequality right here and over here as well. That means we're going to have two lines in our problem. Now, my job is to get this x by itself, so the first thing I'm going to have to do here is subtract 2. Now normally I do it on both sides of the line. If I have 3 sides of my line, I have to subtract 2 everywhere. So whatever you do to get x by itself, you have to do it in all 3 parts. Negative 10 minus 2 is negative 12. I have negative 3x. And 5 minus 2 is going to be 3. And once you get to this point right here, we've got to get x by itself, which means we divide all sides by negative 3. And we are dividing by a negative, so we got to flip our signs. I get 4 greater than x, and that'll be greater than negative 1. And if you recall from our previous discussion on and inequalities, we want to have these be less than signs, so it goes smaller number x, bigger number. So I'm going to take this whole thing and turn it around. So it's going to be negative 1 less than x less than 4. And then I just graph that on a number line. There's negative 1, there's 4. Open circles, and I shade in between. Got one more problem in this video here. And same sort of setup. If you want to go ahead and try it for yourself, pause the video and see what you do with it. But I'm going to go ahead and draw my lines. Want to get x by itself, so I'm going to add 3. So we'll end up with negative 15 greater than 4x greater than negative 12. And I'm going to divide everything by 4 here. So when I do that, negative 15 over 4 is going to be a negative 3.75, I believe. Yeah, I think that's right. And then we have x, and then we have negative 3. So once we get this, again, I don't like those greater than signs. If we're writing an and inequality, turn it around so they're less than signs. I get negative 3 less than x less than negative 3.75. Now this question is actually a problem with what we got right there. That's not good because negative 3.75 is smaller than negative 3. The smaller number is supposed to go over here. These numbers should be flip-flopped right there, so this does not make sense. You can't have an x that's bigger than negative 3 and smaller than negative 3.75 at the same time. There is no solution to this. Last problem here. Because our compound inequality, our sandwich, didn't make sense.